All right, everybody, we're here again. Again, we're looking at options from the open guard. All right, we're looking at attacks from the seated guard. Now, the main idea we're still trying to explain is that we're going to split jiu-jitsu into two different components, the top and the bottom. The top player is generally working hard to maneuver past the legs, access the upper body, pin the person down into the ground, and start to apply attacks, submission holds. The bottom player is instead focusing on doing guard. What that means is attaching as much control to the person on top of them as possible and using that control to manipulate them, throw them to the bottom, or submit them with submission attacks of their own from the bottom. Now, what we're going to look at and understand also is from the guard, there's two ways that my opponent can present, and that means there's two gripping areas that I can focus on attaching. And based on those two gripping areas, it leads to different sorts of attacks. When the person is standing up, okay, they're in a standing position, all right, I generally have higher success with gripping the lower body, and with those grips, I have higher success with sweep attacks and back take options. What that means is if I can access good grips of the legs, if I push him towards his back, he can fall over and go to the bottom. If I have good grips of the legs and I force him to post his hands on the mat in any way, generally by pushing him towards his face, I can use a small window of time where he cannot use his arms to block me, and I can reposition up onto his back in some way. The secondary idea is if my opponent's in a crouching or kneeling position where they hide the legs, I then have higher success of gripping the upper body, the arms, the head, the neck, the shoulders, and then use that control to climb on him closer, right, to his arms and head with my legs, and then find submission holds from the bottom. And again, we always have lots of different options available, but the reason we're talking about this is because generally the most successful option is the ones we've just spoken about. Now, what we're going to look at is an option of attack from our seated single leg guard, okay? Now, what we're going to look at from here is how to transition from here to a double leg option, and then him again being, effective or quick enough to balance himself with his arms, and then using that to secure another back take option. All right? So what we're going to do from here is, again, I'm going to reposition to a double leg option. And again, the most important thing we talked about before was making sure that our head goes to the correct side of his body, so we have a better situation where we're safer with our neck. Now, generally, if I shoot myself into a standing position, into this double leg position on his standing body, and I put my head on this side, because he's already to the outside of my body, and this knee is down, it's going to be much easier for him to close onto my body in a way, even if he jumps to the guard, right, where I'm stuck with my head on this side, or even if he pulled into a half guard position where I'm stuck on the same side, my head and hips. So what we're going to try to do instead, all right, is always shoot our head to the opposite side of his body. Now, the reason this is important is because as I shoot up into the position, my leg blocks him and he's directly in front of me. So that means if he tries to jump to the guard or do all these things, I'm generally going to land in a way where I'm already crossing his body because my leg's in a position where I can move. Okay? And now I'm in a situation where I can easily maneuver in a way that he's no longer going to be able to submit me. So that's why we're going to always look at putting our head towards that opposite side. So again, we're here like this. I'm going to technically stand up and I'm going to stack my knee and my hip, okay, on top of each other. So I pull my weight up onto my knee and then I rotate my foot as I extend my spine up into the ceiling. And now we're here. And now we're going to go to our takedown. And again, it could be running into him. If he's a really heavy guy, he's going to react in a really effective way of keeping his balance. So as I lift him or drive him or run into him, to take him down, he forces himself into this position. Sometimes he'll fall on his knees, which is great, but a lot of the time, as I'm driving into him, he keeps his weight here. And now we have to have a different option to take his back. So what we're going to do from here, we're going to secure his back. So what I'm going to do is the moment I land here, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to lock my arms and legs on opposite side legs. So as I stand up, I lock my leg on this side. And as I go, I immediately lock the hip with my hands on the opposite side, so I fall into this control. And now that I'm here, I'm stuck on his waistline. And now I'm going to work hard to reposition to his back. From here, I need to bring his shoulders, all right, close to my chest, and I need to line my spine up with his spine. So I can lock a triangle on his foot if I like, and now I'm going to let go with my hip control and transition to his arm. Scooping on the inside of his bicep and shoulder, and I'm going to pull him up into my chest, and now my secondary arm can come and make my seatbelt. And now all that's left is fixing up the rest of my hips. So my triangle lock that I have on his ankle, I can remove, I can put my foot on the mat and readjust my hips. So again, I line up perfectly in my back control, and now I can start to finish him with my choke attacks from the back.